Editor's column, 9-point, century bold type. Subhead, buffing the badge. It's press day at the Wilshire Division, Los Angeles Police. I was excluded. Hush Hush is called a tabloid, not considered legitimate press. So I'll give you the real story. It starts at morning muster with Chief Parker's latest puff piece, a film entitled Crime Crusaders, captivating a captive audience of the Chief's Blue Knights.
It's the Esoteric Eric Roberts podcast. We're speaking about LA Confidential, the unsold television pilot from the year 2000. Sartorial keywords: white suit, white lay. Plot keywords: police corruption. Plot keyword: police racism. Plot keyword: Chinese store. Plot keyword: reference to Marcel Proust.
Yeah.
I'm joined by Roy. Before we get into this, do you have any housekeeping that you want to discuss?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to point out that we talked about last episode the movie The Crew, directed by Colin Colpert, and the other movie The Crew, not directed by Colin Colpert, but directed by Michael Dinner. And both of those movies took place in Florida, strangely. And also, there was a 2019 pilot of LA Confidential, also unsold, and that didn't get aired on Pluto, or no, what is the TV channel we saw this off of on YouTube?
Trio.
Yeah, it's also on, I guess, the LA Confidential Blu-ray, but the 2019 one's never been released, but it's shown at some film festivals. I couldn't find it. But that other pilot is directed by Michael Dinner, the director of The Other Crew.
Whoa. The net widens.
Yes.
Well, Roy, you piqued my interest on the television network Trio, which is actually a Canadian network that is no longer with us. It was launched in June of 1994, and it has since closed since January 1st, 2006.
I thought it was a good idea for a network. We'll get to, I guess, things as we go along that you see if you watch this on YouTube, ads on Trio.
Well, just looking at it right here, notable Trio programs. One of the top ones is the series Brilliant But Canceled, which featured this pilot.
It sure did.
Pretty neat. But I don't know which year this was shown on Trio.
Me neither. It has to be when Rosie O'Donnell had a sitcom, or not a sitcom, but that was my biggest clue, was that Rosie O'Donnell had that Rosie O'Donnell show whenever this was on. And we'll get to why.
You did a lot of research, or a lot of homework, I guess.
Yeah, I read the book LA Confidential. Oh, and by the way, so we also know this must be from post 2003, because I guess they say this TV movie's from 2003.
Right, which is kind of confusing. It was shot in 2000.
Oh, and so it's 2003 when it finally showed up on Trio. Maybe that's the answer.
Maybe so. Yeah, I guess this was the first place anyone saw it.
I tried to do some other research. I will get to some that I did. But one thing was, this movie was directed by, this TV movie or unsold pilot was directed by Eric Lenuville, who was an actor that became a director of pretty much all TV. He might have directed some feature, but I tried to watch on Netflix his first movies on Netflix, which is like a school movie with Denzel Washington as a new principal at a tough inner city school, but I couldn't really get into it. I didn't finish it. Maybe I'll finish it at some point.
So this is old, like early Denzel?
Yeah, it's from like 1985 or something.
Oh, nice. So I would think Denzel got his start on St. Elsewhere, unless I'm mistaken. Right,
yeah, and it's possible this guy directed some St. Elsewhere, but I'm not sure.
And this LA Confidential pilot is very TV pilot-y.
Yeah, it does have some more camera moves than a lot of shows.
Yeah,
it's shot more like a movie.
We're getting into, I mean, if this is from the year 2000, then we're getting into more cinematic television. And I think I had read that this had been pitched to HBO
as a mini series.
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Lenuville did direct over 20 episodes exactly of St. Elsewhere.
Oh, there you go. So this would have been right at the height of Sopranos fever. What else was going on in television around this time?
Was this when The Wire was on, or had it not come on yet?
No, I feel like The Wire was later 2000s or mid 2000s. So I think we're in this weird zone of like tons of Survivor Survivor style shows starting to pop up.
Oh, it's the
And,
reality TV era. It was
I wanna
starting up
say-
of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
The West Wing was all the rage during this time, late
Mm,
90s, early thousands.
I
So
guess this was Kiefer Sutherland, as far as we know, his first attempt to really break into TV before he got 24 going.
yeah, so I was looking at 24, which I think came out in 01.
Oh, so he got that like exactly right after this.
So yeah, this was a flop, and then he moved right into 24, and it became like a massive thing. And it kind of, I guess you would call it the Kiefer Renaissance, or I don't know. We could come up with something better than that, but
It's kind of interesting, like Kiefer Sutherland, he was kind of a pretty boy kid, one of the brat pack, I guess. And then he in the 90s, he went into trying to do a lot of character work in big movies and then kind of starring in B movies, direct to video movies. But he seemed like he tried to do a lot of like kind of interesting, hard character work and stuff and really try to be an actor.
yeah, I mean, he was someone that I really dug when I was a kid because I thought he was a great villain in
Stand By Me.
Me, and then in the vampire movie.
Oh, yes, he's iconic for the Lost Boys. That's right.
Of course, then he ends up playing like more of a softy romantic guy in the Young Guns movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Doc Scurlock.
So
Then he shows up as more of a hard ass in A Few Good Men. And then he was a KKK guy in A Time to Kill. Then he was the weird hunchback doctor in Dark City.
Yeah, that's true. I saw that last year.
So did I. Maybe this year I watched it, actually.
Been the first time I'd seen that in quite some time.
That's a solid movie.
It is.
It's fun. It's
and
kind of
Kiefer's
wacky.
good in it. I don't know. We can get into Kiefer's performance in this a little bit later on, but not as great as, spoiler alert, not as great as Dark City, I would say.
So reading the novel LA Confidential, it's just super, super dark. It's like the darkest thing I've ever read in my life.
Really?
With tons of brutality, tons of rape, tons of just mention of like pedophilia, dismembering children and stuff. And just, psycho killers, drugs. It is pretty much the darkest thing ever. The movie from 1997, which was nominated for many Oscars, was a big hit. It significantly pared down the novel and compressed characters and things and just eliminated whole subplots and stuff. And it toned it down. But then I'm guessing that's what I was wondering if it was an HBO thing, if it would be a lot different from what we saw, because this is toned down even more.
Yes.
It was, I guess, bought by Fox was who eventually paid for it. I was thinking something like HBO or something should do it as a mini series, but I guess the other pilot for it was for CBS.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
But that was from 2019, much more modern.
Yeah. From what I hear, like even network TV in 2019 and beyond is pretty dark. You can get a lot through now. So I don't know. I mean, I imagine if the 2019 one would have been for cable TV, they probably could have explored all that dark stuff to the maximum.
One character we don't see in this pilot ever, but was barely in the movie LA Confidential as a major character in the novel, is the real life gangster Mickey Cohen. And do you remember? It's hard to remember, but who played Mickey Cohen in the movie LA Confidential?
I recognize the guy's face, but tell me his name.
It was stalwart of the Phil Joannou films, Paul Guilfoyle.
Yeah, that's
our
right.
Old pal.
That is correct. He would have played Richard Gere's lawyer, I think, right?
Or buddy or whatever.
Buddy lawyer, because Gere's a lawyer
or he's a psychiatrist. Yeah, he was his buddy lawyer in Final Analysis.
Yeah. So the book is from 90. The movie is from 97. The pilot is ostensibly from 2000. And the show is set, the whole story is set in the early 1950s.
I guess the show tells us at the beginning that it's early 50s. The novel is set from 1951, I think, to like 1958. And then it even goes back into backstory that takes place in like the 30s and 40s, but it is pretty much spans the entire 50s, the book. It's pretty sprawling.
The television pilot has some credits at the beginning that tells you, it says early 1950s, then it says Samson Tire Company, then it says 3:53 a.m. in exact year, very specific time of day.
Yeah.
I don't think we get credits for a little bit. That's all right, because I think we want to go ahead and say that Eric Roberts comes in here with the "and" credit again.
Yes, he does. That's a good hit. That yeah, this is our first one in a while where he's the and.
Yeah. Now, where was he in this year? Have you been looking at his filmography?
No, and the movie LA Confidential was shot by Dante Spinotti, and I was thinking that Dante Spinotti has shot an incredible amount of crime films. It seems like Hudson Hawk, Manhunter,
which I saw recently.
So did I. Heat, Public Enemies. He did After the Sunset. I just wanted to look at like how many crime movies Dante Spinotti shot over the years. Let's see here. We've got a TV movie called Blue Blood. I don't know what that was.
How many Eric Roberts movies has Dante Spinotti?
He's also the director of photography of Red Dragon. I forgot that. So he did Manhunter and the Red Dragon.
Yeah, he was a name that we discussed a lot back in our early film buff days.
I guess I noticed just about all of them that were American. At least he did a lot of Italian films before he came to America. Manhunter, I think, was his first American movie. I think he's talked about that, how he was supposed to be the director of photography on the movie Taipan before Manhunter. But the director of Taipan, I forget who he was, didn't think Spinotti was experienced enough for such a big production. And they hired Jack Cardiff, actually.
What year's Taipan from?
I want to say 1985, maybe, which is around the same time as Manhunter. They're both produced by Dino De Laurentiis. And I guess Dino De Laurentiis said to Spinotti's like, I'll get you in on this other movie. See if I'll pitch you to Michael Mann.
So in the year 2000, Eric Roberts had been in notable titles such as Dirk and Betty as playing the customer. He was in a movie called Mercy Streets.
Oh, yes, which we've seen.
Have we?
And we worked at a movie theater that played the movie Mercy Streets. It's a faith film with he and Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, he stars in that. Well, maybe might have to be our next movie that we talk about.
If we can find it. I think that it's maybe a tough one to find. We can look for it before we decide on that, because I've considered making it one of our choices before, and I think I had a tough time finding it.
Yeah, most notable probably would be Cecil B. Demented. I'm not sure how big his role is in that.
I forgot he was in that. I've seen that movie.
I don't remember him from it. It's been quite a while. He was in a television series called Falcone.
I think I remember that, ads for Falcone.
Raymond the Madman Ricci. But I think that he hadn't had like a big notable role in quite a while. I really think there's this gap in Roberts being in like the public consciousness between, I don't know, what would you say, Heaven's Prisoners?
Yeah, maybe Heaven's Prisoners. Yeah.
And that was in 96, and that was the same year as the Cable Guy that he had kind of a famous
cameo
in. And then there's this kind of gap where he was in just some strange, you got the Odyssey in there, you got the Prophecy 2.
Oh yeah.
A bunch of little stuff and movies that we've reviewed on the show.
Proposition on TV.
So I feel like we're in this weird,
not Proposition, but Purgatory rather.
Yeah, we're in a Roberts purgatory of sorts, I think, before probably The Dark Knight.
He goes a long time, it feels like, without being in a theatrical film that I could think of.
Yeah, but man, I mean, he stays busy because I'm scrolling.
Although Mercy
right
Streets
now.
came out of the theater.
I'm getting carpal tunnel scrolling through his filmography just between 98 and 03.
Wow.
But back to the subject of LA Confidential. Should we get into the plot of the pilot?
Yes.
Roy, so I haven't read the book. How much of the pilot comes from the book?
A lot of it's changed and changed around. It's quite different. It's different in different ways than the movie and brings in things in some ways that aren't in the movie. The movie excises all of the backstories of the leads. Each of the leads of LA Confidential, it's a movie and show and book with 3 lead characters.
Yes.
Jack Vincennes, Bud White, Ned Exley. And as this episode starts, we see the backstory of Jack Vincennes, and that is not in the movie LA Confidential, but it is in the book, but it's different in the book. But kind of similar to here, where when we start this episode, he's in a car. He's a cop who lives more on the edge. He's like a druggie.
Yeah.
He does amphetamines and weed and booze.
He's definitely doing amphetamines and booze in this first scene of the pilot where he's parked outside of Samson Tire Company.
Kiefer Sutherland struggles with alcoholism.
That's right. Have you seen that famous video of him jumping on the Christmas tree?
Yes.
I've seen it many times. Yeah, so he's has a partner with him outside of this factory. I can't remember, Roy, what time of night was it?
3:53 a.m.
That's right. And it's this tire company with big Babylonian paintings on it, and they're talking.
Yeah, it looks
about,
like it might be in Hollywood where they have those big Babylonian kind of things from the movie Intolerance, but I don't know. It might be not at all.
yeah, they're talking about the mother of harlots and abominations. So we meet Vincennes, played by Sutherland, and they're getting ready to make a drug deal. And so this other car pulls up probably around 3:55, and a cholo comes out. Does he look like a 1950s cholo to you, Roy?
Well, apparently there must not be much difference because the cars and everything are right. But yeah, he just seemed like some guy out of 2003 or 1995 or 2000, or I guess, yeah, we're post the zoot suits in the 50s, I guess. So maybe this has just been cholo fashion for a long time. But yeah, he looked very modern.
Well, I went on a long dive just trying to figure out when the cholo top button shirt style started, and I feel like it's pretty anachronistic in this scene here with the top button. I feel like that didn't come in until much later, maybe the 70s. What I did learn about it was that it was a prison thing, so that the Hispanic gangs could distinguish themselves. But another thing I read about it was that it made it easier to pull the shirt off in a fight, so they wouldn't get tangled up in it.
Interesting. This is irrelevant, but one time I met Kiefer Sutherland and we talked a little bit over cigarettes. We had a smoke and chilled for a second.
How was he?
He was nice. We
Chill
talked.
guy?
It was right after Edward Herman, the actor from The Lost Boys, died, and he hadn't heard he died. And that's how he said hi. That I was like, hi. I was like, hey, did you see Edward Herman died? And he was like, no, that's sad. He was really nice.
Who was he in The Lost Boys?
He's the guy who ends up being the master vampire that the mom is dating.
Oh, okay. I remember that guy. And I remember when he died, I believe, because I believe maybe you told me that. Yeah. I wondered if you may have brought up some rap lyrics that you wrote a long time ago where you rhymed Kiefer with True Believer.
Oh, I don't remember that. Yeah. I didn't then either.
It's probably better that you didn't bring it up, even if you had remembered it.
Yeah, he might have punched me in the gut.
So we have this drug deal that's taking place.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, Kiefer Sutherland's playing Jack Vincennes.
Right. So he's a cop making a drug deal.
Yeah, and he's with a partner, and he's undercover, I guess, and he's making this drug deal for, I guess, some smack that is a crazy color. I guess it's pink,
rose color,
or it's rose colored. Okay, with roses on it.
I tried to figure out the weird rhymes that they're using here to talk about the colors of the drugs. Did you?
Yeah, I guess he says the drugs are from China, and that no, I didn't make a note of it. I just noted that the guy first talks about that there's orange heroin that means something, and that this is rose heroin. I guess
orange is sundown. The color of sundown, and
also
then
could be rose colored. I guess rose is the dawn, rosy fingered dawn, as Homer and Nick Nolte have told us many times.
Yeah, the Chinese dye each brand, and this one has a nice little rose insignia, the wax. I forget what that's called. Like when they seal some, maybe it's just a wax seal. So what happens is a shootout.
Yeah, someone from the shadows starts shooting at Jack Vincennes.
And Jack gets winged.
Yeah, and then a guy runs out from around the same area that Jack thinks the shots are coming from.
As the cholo flees, he drives away.
And Jack shoots the guy to death he sees running.
Yes, I have in my notes here that there's a gunshot, and this guy that's running, Kiefer returns fire on this guy many times.
Yeah.
After shouting, "Don't move," and the guy doesn't move, and he continues to shoot the guy many times. So basically, they find out it's an unarmed employee. They look at his ID.
Yeah, and so the gunman totally disappears and gets away, as does the cholo.
Yeah, and so Sutherland and his partner have been boozing and mething. So and the other guy's worried about his pension.
Yeah,
there's a lot of pension talk in this and the movie.
Yes, and the book. Yeah, people who are about to pension out that don't want to get, or are easier to get in trouble or something, or want to stay out of trouble.
I imagine the force. Pension talk is probably in pretty much anything that has to do with cops
and Thomas Pynchon novels.
That's right. Pension. So what do? Roy? They plant a gun on the dead employee to cover it up.
Yeah.
and it works pretty much, but somebody knows about it who shouldn't know about it.
Yeah, I think in the novel, Jack Vincent's backstory is that he was doing drugs and stuff, and there was some kind of mix up on a crime, and he killed a couple, I think, and left these kids orphaned. But in the movie, it's
even
just a
darker.
guy. Yeah, even darker.
You wanted it dark. So this is where we meet this hush hush reporter, Sid
Hutchins, who was played by Danny DeVito in the movie,
and
is here as Pruitt Taylor Vince, who is for once not cast for his crazy eye, unless maybe it's talking about the roving eye of the reporter that sees all.
Yeah. So what all do we know Pruitt Taylor Vince from, Roy?
Oh, so many movies, from Shy People. He was the lead in a movie called Heavy, and
That's
he's in
right, with
JFK.
Liv Tyler.
That was the first James Mangold movie. He's in tons and tons of stuff. Very working all the time character actor. He's in Mississippi Burning. He's usually cast as some kind of guy for his crazy eye.
How'd you like him in this?
I thought he was pretty decent. He's not a bad actor. He could have been worse. He wasn't as fun as Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
And Kiefer Sutherland's not near as fun as Kevin Spacey in the movie. You know, right before we recorded this, I was exercising and I went back and listened to the now defunct Elroy Boys podcast on LA Confidential. And it seemed like they liked Kevin Spacey somewhat in the movie LA Confidential, but didn't care for him much as an actor overall. I think Kevin Spacey was a really good actor. He kind of got more annoying after he got famous, but he's good in many movies, and he's really awesome in LA Confidential.
I totally agree with you. I think he's wonderful in LA Confidential. In fact, it's my favorite Spacey performance.
He's really good at it.
Yeah, he really brings Vincennes to life in a way that's Sutherland. He's just coming at it from a totally different direction.
Yeah, he's a little less corrupt in this than what happens to the Vincennes character in the book and the movie. In the book, it's like this incident of killing these people like totally gets him to clean up his act as far as doing drugs and liquor. He keeps a calendar in his office of like where he marks off every day he hasn't been drinking. So he's like a total teetotaler kind of guy. In the novel, he does the thing where he gives money puts money in the orphans, and he makes all these deals to make money. In this, he's just kind of hawks things and borrows money. I guess they're getting into him working with Sid Hutchins. I guess the TV show was going to maybe play out the show even, or the book even longer, and have his relationship with Sid Hutchins develop. But in the book, it's already kind of in media res of he's been doing these things. He does that bust like in the movie where he busts the actress and the bit player guy doing weed, and it's set up so the photograph will be taken of him as he walks out, maybe even some film to be used on Hush Hush. Big V.
Sid knows about what happened with shooting the guy and covering it up. And so there's this discussion in the pilot about how...
somebody goes to Sid Hutchins with this information on Kiefer Sutherland or on Jack Vincennes about this cover-up. We don't see the guy. It looks like it's the Cholo, but we're not sure. He's totally in shadow.
Yeah, I didn't even try to figure out where they were or what the hell was going on.
Yeah, it's probably in the Hush Hush offices.
That's what it felt like to me. And we learned from Sid that Vincennes is working all of this overtime and borrowing money to give to the dead employee's widow.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's here that we see the first shots of Sutherland going up and putting envelopes into the mailbox of this house.
The Gorvalds or something, which is the name of the people that he kills in the novel.
Yeah, Thorvald,
that's right.
Then we move into a pro-police propaganda film about cleaning up LA, and that kind of situates us in this police department conference room.
And we see all these different cops. This was kind of neat because you meet the three lead cops. They're all watching this film, as far as also a bunch of other people. And there's a weird cameo where he doesn't have any lines. He's just standing there as an extra cop behind like Dudley Smith or something, is actor Richard Reel, who is also in like just tons of movies and was in he's in Office Space. He's also famously in Casino. He's the guy who Joe Pesci tells he'll make his brain go to sleep if he doesn't have his money for him.
I thought that was Richard Reel. I did pause it. There's another guy in here that we'll get to here pretty soon, actually, that I could not find a credit
Richard Reel
for. I think it is, but
I think it is too.
The LA Confidential TV pilot cast it's not very long. It doesn't list everyone that's in it.
No, it doesn't even list like a director of photography or anything.
Yeah, so there's someone else here too that I laughed when I saw him. But yeah, I thought, oh, that's real. And then maybe he was gonna become a larger role later on if the series was picked up.
He hopes.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he'd be
hoped
one
in
of the
vain,
people that
Roy.
gets in trouble for the Bloody Christmas.
So after this propaganda film this is where we meet Exley.
Yeah, and each of the three
goody.
This was kind of good where they're watching a propaganda film because it looked like Kiefer Sutherland was trying not to fall asleep during it, and it looked like Bud White was kind of like angry, bemused by it, like not interested in it, and then it looked like Exley was all about it.
Yeah, so you really get a sense of who these guys are.
Yeah,
just
which was
by how
pretty
they're
good.
reacting. It's
and then
we
we find out Bud White is played by Josh Hopkins and Ed Exley is played by David Conrad, who remain not famous.
And kind of look interchangeable.
Yeah.
Exley, of course, is a little bit smaller, but
Josh Hopkins looked very familiar. He's been in tons of stuff over the years.
Yeah, much different than the Russell Crowe performance and just the Russell Crowe physicality.
And he had kind of that like brutal kind of face, but he is more of a pretty boy than Russell Crowe, I guess.
He looked less like a bouncer, stout guy.
Yeah, they both look like they would be good on Baywatch.
Vincennes goes up to the chief after the meeting, and he's trying to get back into the narcotics division. So a lot has changed in the time since he's killed this Thorvald guy.
Yeah, so I guess he's on the Vice Squad now, which is where he gets sent in the book and the novel in the movie in the book when he gets in trouble for Bloody Christmas.
Yeah, so he is obsessed with this heroin investigation, with this rose-colored heroin.
Yeah, and he's like, "Are you seeing the roses again, boy?"
Yeah, we have another kind of Irishy chief here.
Yeah, it's Dudley Smith, the famous Irish chief, who I guess is a character in multiple James Ellroy novels and is like a major villain in a few of them. And he's the villain in the movie LA Confidential, and in the book, he's the big secret villain who gets revealed at the end, more or less, or towards the end. But we also hear, this is a good time to point out that just in the news yesterday was the actor who played Dudley Smith in the movie, James Cromwell. Did you see this?
What happened?
Well, James Cromwell is a big PETA guy, the People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, and he went to a Starbucks and glued his hand to the counter at Starbucks in protest of them charging extra for vegan milk and creamer.
Damn, he's serious about it.
Yeah, he's one of the bigwigs of it or something.
How did it all pan out?
Oh, I guess he went home.
Yeah.
I don't think he got arrested or anything.
Crazy. What's the last thing we know Cromwell from being in?
Shoot, it's been a minute since I think I've seen Cromwell in anything. He was George Bush Sr. in W, but that's many years old now.
Right. Yeah, he was on top of the world there for a minute, being in Babe and being in LA Confidential. And
he was nominated for an Oscar for Babe.
Yeah, that'll do, pig.
He was in like The Queen, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And what's his most recent stuff? I feel like he was on an HBO show. He was in The General's Daughter as the General.
That's right.
I read a book recently by the author of General's Daughter, Nelson DeMille, and it was a pretty entertaining page turner called Word of Honor. He's been in a show called Berlin Station that I've heard of. I was on a TV show called Counterpart that is over now, that ran to 2019. That's supposed to be pretty good. It stars J.K. Simmons. He's on Succession now. That's what he does now. It's on HBO on Succession.
Big show. Haven't watched it. You ever watched any of that?
Never. Doesn't look good to me.
Yeah. So Cromwell, you got Brian
Cox.
Brian Cox is one of the big stars of Succession. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone recommends it to me. Maybe one of these days.
6th and Cirrus Street. Tawdry bars, rooms that rent by the hour. It's the corner where a little boy's mother catered to a different appetite. A trail of snitches leads Jack to a shabby room. But it's too late. Lucian's mom stepped on a rainbow and went home to Jesus.
One thing also on this is that when they go to, maybe when they start showing that police film, the puff piece, like police propaganda film about the LA cops, they play the song Mac the Knife. And we have several soundtrack songs in this episode. This is the first one, I think. And the song Mac the Knife is being performed, I believe, by Bobby Darin. And Bobby Darin was played in the movie Beyond the Sea, written and directed, actually, also, or at least directed and starring Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Jack Vincennes.
Nice connection. After this meeting, we see a starving boy who shows up at the police station, and there's a lady. It's a lady cop.
Lady cop.
Who tells Vincennes that the boy's looking for his mother, who's been missing for 3 days, and she mentions the area where the mother last was. So he knows that it's
She works the corner.
Being in Vice, he knows about this area.
He says, folks on that corner cater to a different appetite.
Then we have Exley being interviewed about policing police.
Yeah, he's heading up internal affairs.
That's right. And we have some press guys. We have a photographer and we have an interviewer. And this is another person I couldn't find in the credits, but I swear that this actor is the one, David Brisbane, who played Mr. Ernst on Hey Dude.
Oh, whoa.
He was also in a lot of stuff. He was in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and a bunch of TV shows. He was in The X-Files and The West Wing and stuff throughout the 90s.
Mr. E.
Mr. E. I'm pretty sure it's him, but I can't locate him in the incomplete credits here.
And this, we also find out that in this scene that Exley, he wants his picture. They want to take his picture with him at Guadalcanal, or with his Distinguished Service Cross in the photograph, which shows he was a war hero for Guadalcanal. And that's his big backstory in the novel. Part of it is that he is a war hero, but he faked his war heroism. He pulled a crazy maneuver where he was a coward, much like in Ravenous, where he was a coward that actually did some heroic shit after he drank blood. But in the novel, he really staged his whole heroism act and then took credit for it and became a war hero when he was actually just a coward.
When you say Ravenous, you're talking about Guy Pearce?
Yeah, you're right. Not the character Ed Exley, but the actor Guy Pearce. He played Ed Exley in the movie LA Confidential.
Aussie actor Guy Pearce.
And in the book, Ed Exley also ends up heading IA, but way far into the book, he starts becoming the head of IA, like well after Bloody Christmas. And in the movie, it never happens. He never joins IA in the movie. That's one of the things they get rid of.
Somewhere in here, we cut to our first commercial break.
Yes, finally.
On YouTube.
This is
Trio Network that this video was taped off of. So what were some notable things you saw during this commercial break?
Well, this is the first time we hear about some of the other unaired pilots that
from
they're
the
going to show.
Brilliant but canceled series.
Yes, that they're going to show. One is a show which became a big show called Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they tried it before the one that became a big show, but they tried it as a much more straight adaptation of the movie, or just using the movie characters as a like dramedy world with Edie Falco as Margie Gustafson. Matt Malloy played her husband, and I watched that pilot after this. That was part of my research, as I watched the Fargo pilot. And
so does this predate The Sopranos? Yeah,
it seems older.
Well, before,
yeah, you're right, and it would be before. Yeah, she seems a little younger than in The Sopranos.
I imagine the reason they tried to do the LA Confidential pilot again years and years later is because of the success of Fargo, the TV show that came out, I don't know, 5 years ago.
I've never. Do you watch the Fargo TV show?
I watched a couple episodes of every season is a different crime story that's set in that area. I watched a few episodes of the Ewan McGregor season. And I thought it was well made, but I wasn't enthralled enough to stay with it.
This pilot wasn't that great, much like this doesn't end up being that great. It's like it kind of misses the boat on the Margie Gustafson character. She's like a little too ditzy and unlike in the movie. Yeah, but the one thing is that pilot was directed by Kathy Bates.
Wow. Has she directed anything else?
Not that I know of. Maybe she has, and I just don't know.
Fascinating.
We also see that they don't tell us what it is, but they say they're going to show a pilot by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
And I found and watched that. It's from the 70s, and it's called Savage, and it stars Martin Landau as a guy who has like a TV news show, like a magazine news show, and named Savage. His character's name is Savage. I think the show he has might be called Savage, and he ends up like investigating this death of this woman that's connected to a politician. There's like a conspiracy. And if you want to talk about something that was like filmed aggressively for TV, it's like, man, that movie just has constant like crazy shots through different things and moving cameras and stuff, but it still wasn't that good.
Spielberg trying his hardest.
Yeah, he was doing his job, but the show's script wasn't really all that great. I think it might have had Dudley Moore in it. not Dudley Moore, Dabney Coleman.
So there was a nice ad for a water hose that rolls up, or did you want to keep
the
talking?
Flat hose.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to keep talking about Brilliant but canceled.
There was a lady in that commercial towards the end. There were several people in it, but there was an actress that they used a lot in the latter half of that commercial that unflattened my hose. She was pretty hot.
It's pretty cool to see 1-800 numbers on TV. That's been a minute since I've seen any of those. But I haven't seen a lot of ads.
Yeah, we also saw the thing where they showed another thing they were going to show was something called Beat Cops, where we saw a picture of it. And Beat Cops, I also watched that pilot. And that was a comedy show about two cops that asked when they got hired when they passed the police exam if they could always be desk jockeys and never go in the field. And as like a punishment or something around Christmas, they're like sent out into the field to walk the beat one day. And I forget who the guy is. I don't know him by name, but it's written and stars as one of the two cops. One of the guys you'll recognize from Conan O'Brien is like one of his writers and regular kind of skit performers. And then the other cop is John Benjamin.
Oh, yeah. I know him.
Yeah. It had its moments, but it wasn't that good.
So I'm looking here at this Trio network and all the reruns that they showed. And I remember there being a channel that showed a bunch of reruns of David Letterman.
That was E! Entertainment had all those Letterman reruns, but I guess Trio did too.
They did
a lot of ads for that on this too.
Yeah, as well as they played they just played episodes of this show called Sessions at West 54th, which was something I was way into.
Never heard of it.
In my early 20s, getting into music, getting into to procuring lots of free music via downloading. It was hosted by David Byrne. It's a live music show. It's kind of an Austin City Limits style show.
Oh, interesting.
But it had a bunch of like just eclectic stuff, like I saw a great Beck performance on there one time. And
wait, was that a show where one time was what's his face? I think that I've seen clips on YouTube of David Byrne performing at it.
He used to play a lot on it.
There's one where he does Psycho Killer, but dressed up in a crazy full body spandex suit of the human anatomy inside, like all your muscle section.
Sounds like it's probably from that show.
But there's another one where he does that Brian Eno, David Byrne song, Help Me Somebody, that I really like. And that's really good. He performs with this woman. And
yes,
that's really cool.
I think we were kind of obsessed with the video of that for a while.
Yeah,
it was on YouTube.
There is a good video.
That definitely is from Sessions at West 54.
Okay. Yeah. So that's my only familiarity with that. But that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a great show. And that's where I saw a lot of crazy stuff. Like, this would have been around the time of when really before Moby really blew up. But stuff like, G Love and Special Sauce, or like I said, Beck. I think Wilco was on an episode. I'm trying to think of the Japanese group that Sean Lennon was in with the girls.
Oh, interesting.
Chibo Mato was their name, and they always were like playing weird funk music about food and stuff. But anyways, I don't know. It seems like Trio was a pretty badass channel.
Then we got into a commercial for something called Inventec.
Yeah.
Where you register your inventions. Yeah. That was a pretty crazy commercial.
Yeah, it's all about getting the patent. So you see these fake testimonials of different people. Yeah. And like this one lady who's like, if only I would have thought to get the patent. There was this one guy who had like a really thick New Yorkie accent. He's talking about the clap on, clap off lights.
Yes, that guy was really funny.
Yeah, and he's like, snap your fingers, turn on the light. That was my idea.
Then there's one guy who rolls around on rollerblades and takes them inside his house and throws them away in anger. So did they steal the idea he bought the rollerblades and was like, that was my idea after he used them.
Yeah, we want to urge everyone listening to this to just go find this video on YouTube and really watch it for the commercials, not for the television pilot.
And then when they tell you like how to do the thing you order, they send it to you on video or on DVD and on VHS tape.
Yeah, this would have been in that weird nether time between VHS DVDs, bringing up a lot of nostalgia, Roy.
They still have those like weird invention patenting things because they send me junk email about patenting my invention.
Have you ever invented something?
Never.
You've never had an idea to invent something?
No.
Yeah, I always wanted to be an inventor, but I never really had any good ideas. Well, back in the world of LA Confidential, the television pilot from maybe 2000,
Yeah.
we go back into the world of Bud White,
And we get Sid Hutchins tells us Bud White's backstory to some extent.
which is the same from the movie. He was a child of abuse who grew up in an abusive home.
Yeah, in the book, at least, like his dad killed his mom, which maybe we'd find out if there were more episodes of this LA Confidential show.
Yeah. Also, we also learned that in the movie as well. That his father
I
killed
forgot
his
that.
mother with a tire iron. He's outside of this place that's like a studio residence home. I couldn't quite hear exactly what they said it was.
Yeah.
But it's basically like a rooming house
For chicks.
for ladies that are trying to break into the biz.
I guess so.
And this is where we meet Lynn Bracken.
Who's played by Melissa George. What do we know her from?
I don't know.
The name certainly rang a bell.
She's a pretty gal.
I feel like she's had some kind of fame.
Lynn Bracken, played by EsotEric Roberts alumnus Kim Basinger.
You're right, in the movie.
The 97 film.
Who won the Oscar for it, I believe.
Is that
Melissa,
right?
I think so. She's at least nominated. It was a comeback thing for her.
Yes, I knew it was a big comeback. I can't remember her winning.
I think she won the Oscar for it.
I remember Basinger also being nominated for the 8 Mile, also directed by Curtis Hanson.
Was 8 Mile? Oh, you're right. It was. Yeah. I guess Melissa George is currently on that show, The Mosquito Coast, based on the Paul Theroux novel, which stars Justin Theroux, who is related to Paul Theroux.
That's right. And they kind of look alike.
Interesting. Yeah, you're right. They do.
Melissa George is in the film Dark City, starring Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, who was she in that? She must have been one of the girls that like Rufus Sewell is supposed to kill or something.
She was in The Limey. She was in Mulholland Drive, which came out in 2001 and this scene is very similar to Mulholland Drive. The girl showing up in Hollywood with these big dreams.
But she was not in Mulholland Falls, which is about the Hat Squad, which Bud White eventually is invited to join in the novel LA Confidential.
Touché.
But she goes in this hotel, and there's a very swishy guy who's also kind of pimpish in this hotel who takes notice of her.
That's right.
And I felt like this character was based on the famous Scotty Bowers.
He was a kind of groomer of sorts.
He was kind of a pimp himself and a prostitute.
Okay.
And is still alive.
Well, he takes an interest in
and was played by Dermot Mulroney on the show Hollywood. Or Dylan McDermott, not Dermot Mulroney.
Yeah, Lynn checks in at this place and with a
front desk lady.
Yeah, but she's almost like a dorm person. I don't know.
Matron.
So she's a matronly woman. We know that. And the swish is asking questions about her name and whatnot. And so from there we move into this residence that the boy who lost his mother had come from.
Yeah.
Or around where he
Sid
last
Hutchins
seen his mother.
Repeats the same line where he's like, where people cater to a different appetite.
The line is said twice in the pilot.
Yeah, it's like the Kiefer Sutherland says it earlier, and now when he goes to the thing, Sid Hutchins
not even a good
says
line.
It in voiceover. Yeah, it's bad. I think that happens again at some point in the episode. I don't know if I made a note of it where Sid Hutchins, where they come back from commercial or something, and somebody says something that was like just said before the commercial.
Plot keyword: bad line said twice.
Yeah.
So he finds the mother dead. And I think it's Sid again who says dead. What? She's dead from an overdose.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so I think Sid says stepped on a rainbow and went home to Jesus.
I made the same note. Lucian's mom stepped on a rainbow and went home to Jesus.
Which is a much better line than the other one.
Yes, it is.
Is that in the book?
I don't know. No, this whole thing about him investigating heroin is made up for this show.
I see.
He's not into this heroin thing at all. He's really, just like in the movie, he's mad when he gets moved to Vice because he can't work on the TV show and he's not getting as good of tips to bust like people for drugs. The drug busts really make him the money with Hush Hush.
Vincent finds the rose-colored heroin, so his obsession grows stronger with trying to figure out this stuff.
Link in the chain.
And then we move into Exley, who is spying on some cops in Chinatown who are taking bribes. What kind of bribes are they taking?
They're getting like silk sashes and things from vendors who don't have permits.
Yeah, who look very Chinese.
Yeah, yeah.
So then we go into the locker room where he's confronting some guys about the extorted Chinese goods. We hear Kiefer say, Chinese don't pull permits. They give gifts.
Long LA tradition.
Long LA tradition. And then have we met Stensland?
I don't think we have. I mean, he was probably in the car with Bud White when they were taking out the thing, but we haven't really heard his name or anything.
Yeah. That's not the same partner, is it? From when they shot the guy?
No. I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's Bud White's partner in the movie and in the novel, and I think in
that's
this as
right.
well,
I'm
because
sorry.
Bud White defends him. That's one of those things where, we couldn't find the 2019 pilot where Walton Goggins plays Jack Vincent, but the second most famous person in that pilot, I think, is Shea Wiggum, played Dick Stensland.
Yes.
And in the novel, Dick Stensland's a much more major character, and a lot happens with him that doesn't happen in the movie, and we never really get to in this show. This is pretty much our only meeting with Dick Stensland.
I see.
Is that Jack Vincent Ed Exley wants to search his locker, and he finds booze in it, and then Bud White gets mad at him.
That's right. He finds a bottle of Johnny Walker.
Nice.
Vincennes launches he pulls his jock strap back like a slingshot and launches it into Exley and says, why don't you take this? It's hot. I forget the line.
And somehow Hush Hush gets pictures of this.
Yeah. Because this prompts all the other cops to also throw their jock straps at Stensland.
Who took this picture?
Excuse me, Exley. All of a sudden, there's a photographer for Hush Hush that's in there. He just snaps
in the
a
police
crazy
locker
picture.
room.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. Like, I guess there's just press always lurking around these cops. That was a funny thing that I got from this pilot, was the idea of the cops really being like celebrities in their own way. Like Sid's obsessed with them as like famous people that he writes about.
Yeah, he's like, everybody deserves fame.
Yeah, it's almost like, he's like a paparazzi for the cops. It's interesting. I don't know how deep that goes in the book, but I mean, I guess I just didn't get that much of a sense of that from the movie with DeVito. DeVito seemed more like a tabloid guy who just wanted like dirt on crime.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how the book is too. The guy being obsessed with the police is kind of, I don't know, maybe just convenient for this TV show.
It's convenient for the exposition, and for the character exposition.
Then we get where Jack Vincennes meets that cop that he hawks the watch to, wants to hawk the watch to at some point, and I guess he borrows money from. And the first thing he says, it's kind of muffled. He's like, "Do you want to place a bet on the Angels?" And the Angels weren't a major league team until 1960. They wouldn't have been around in the 50s, I don't think, unless
anachronism.
Betting on minor league baseball.
Yeah, good catch there, Roy. You and your sports knowledge.
I looked it up because I was like, I don't feel like the Angels were around.
Oh, you looked it up.
I did, but yeah, I had a feeling that might be wrong.
So, do we want to talk about the shit with Exley and his fiance?
Oh yeah,
his girlfriend.
I guess we meet that he has a fiance, and
this is the weakest part of the whole pilot for me, is this stuff.
And we find out, I guess, we've already found out that Exley's a rich guy whose dad is rich, and then they thought that because when he was with the reporters, they accused him of, maybe backhandedly accused him of his dad getting them the job with IA, and he being like, my dad wouldn't do that. And then
his dad's a super rich ex-cop.
Yes. That's a big part of the book, is his dad is a super rich ex-cop who is now like a building contractor. And gets on all these land deals and is involved with Walt Disney, a fake Walt Disney named Ray Dieterling in the novel. They're like, then they go back a ways, and that's a big part of the book, is like, and really dark is all this stuff about Disney.
Yeah,
that I ended up looking into. It's just all made up for the novel of this fake Disney stuff, but it's pretty funny, like how dark they get with it.
Beyond that, I didn't really get much else from that scene.
We know that he's basically being a cop as a career move or something, according to this. And we also see this guy shirtless, which is a good excuse to talk about the Eric Roberts body challenge, because we never see Eric Roberts shirtless in this movie, which is a change.
Yeah.
What were you eating while you watched this episode?
Let's see. Well, I watched it a few times. I was mostly drinking. But I'll tell you, Roy, I've been on the vodka sodas. Now that's low calorie.
Yeah, it is.
And I drink about 2. I don't go over 2. So the night that I watched this, I was drinking those. And then last night I did good last night. I had a chicken wrap.
Ooh,
with salad. Yeah, that was it.
I'm down from 200 to 198. Not much change there.
Yeah, I do not own a scale, so
I used one at the gymnasium when I was exercising. I've been exercising at this apartment complex that I was staying in for a week for training for a job. And the last couple of days I was there, leading up to today, the scale broke. I thought maybe my weight broke the scale. I think maybe its battery just really ran out. So I weighed myself today on a different scale, and I'm at 198. While I was watching this episode last night to make final notes for this, I was eating a lemon bar that I'd taken chocolate chips and pushed them down into the gooey top of the lemon bar.
nice.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. That sounds like some rose-colored heroin.
Yeah. Is this where we go to commercials again?
I think so. I want to add that I have not been exercising as much as I would like. Have been distractions in my life, but I'm still
I've been
trying to
exercising.
still lifting them weights,
Good.
which is maybe more important than the bike.
It's a tough call.
Debatable.
Very debatable.
Yeah. Did we talk about the twist board that I've been using?
No.
I have a twist board that is just looks like a disc, and it's on top of another disc, and so it rotates. You put your feet on there and you kind of do the twist like the dance, and it works your core. It's good for your
Ooh,
abs, and it's good for your love handles.
that
as far
sounds
as I know.
fun.
Yeah. So that's really what I'm trying to work on the waistline. I want to have a nice like 31-inch waist like Eric Roberts.
Speaking of the twist, have you ever noticed that Chubby Checker and Fats Domino have almost the same name and look almost the same?
Yeah, I've thought about that for years.
Chubby Checker, Fats Domino.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's pretty weird.
So, okay, let's do a kind of a weird comparison. Who would you say is the LA Confidential movie? Chubby or Fats?
Fats Domino. He has way more hits.
Okay.
He's more respected, I think. I think Chubby Checker, he's known for the twist, and let's twist again like we did last summer. But Chubby Checker has like all those hits.
I guess
No,
it'd
wait,
be
that's
more of a-
backwards. That's backwards. Fats Domino is the one with all the hits, and Chubby Checker is the one just known for the twist, basically.
Yeah, it's not a really great comparison or analogy because the pilot was never even aired for anyone to see.
True. And they both had hits. They were both bigger than the pilot.
So
Also, oh yeah, and it's commercials. Did you notice anything in these?
No, I felt like the commercials started to repeat themselves.
Well, in this one they had something. This is where we find out about the show Look Well.
Yeah, I missed that.
So there's
In fact,
this show.
I fast forwarded through it.
Okay, so there's this show Look Well that starred Adam West.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched this pilot, and this was by far the best of the pilots I watched.
I've heard of this pilot. Yes.
It was written by Robert Smigel and Conan O'Brien. And it's basically, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if it's totally a one camera sitcom, but it's like more modern looking than most sitcoms. But it's a sitcom where Adam West plays a guy that had a detective show in the 70s, and he got an honorary badge from the LA Police Department. And now he's like an out of work actor trying to get parts, but he teaches an acting class and he starts trying to solve crimes. And it was hilarious. It was kind of hard to like see how it would, develop if they made it a show, how they could keep it going and fresh through for like a whole season. But for at least one, I'll probably watch that episode again at some point. It was really funny. One thing I thought about though was, he plays like, he was Batman, of course, and he's then playing a guy who used to have a famous TV show. But later, Michael Keaton would do Birdman, where he was a guy that used to be a famous superhero.
Right.
So we kind of beat him to the punch twice.
Whoa, that's pretty fascinating.
But that show was good. I wish Look Well would have been a show. Kind of reminded me of Eagle Heart or Get a Life. It was very silly. It was just constant jokes.
Did you see any other ads during this break?
Not that I made note of. That was the only one that really caught my eye during this one.
I do feel like the brilliant but canceled thing just kept repeating.
Yeah, we kept seeing ads for that show Gun that Robert Altman produced.
Mm-hmm.
But that, I feel like, didn't multiple episodes of that air? I don't think that was like just a pilot that never aired. I think that actually came on TV.
Yeah, not sure about that.
I'm not sure either. I know you can find multiple episodes of it on YouTube. I didn't end up watching that, or the one week they kept showing a picture of George Clooney in his show called Rewrite for Murder. and that sounded really
Yes,
crazy.
that one I did see.
I didn't watch that.
That
And
was
then
pre-ER.
yeah, and then they kept talking about a show with Bebe Newirth. They showed like a shot of her, but I didn't even look into that one. Ran out of time.
How do you like her?
She's good.
Yeah, I've been watching Frasier, and she makes some appearances on
Oh
that.
yeah, I watched in that apartment. They had just regular Cox cable. I watched an episode of Frasier 2 nights ago, and I wanted to point out a commercial they played during that. There's a current commercial that's on that station playing Frasier, where it's like a thing for women to sop up their discharged urine in their pants while they're living their day, and it's called Poise. And at the end of the commercial, it says the woman has poison in her pants. And I was thinking, do poisoners have special pants that hold poisons in the pockets? Then I thought, well, the commercial actually makes total sense. She does kind of have a pocket that holds her poison.
That's really gross. One thing I love Bebe Newirth from is from The Adventures of Pete and Pete, where she plays Mel Woman McGinty.
Oh yeah, she does. I forgot she was that.
Just Another Day in the Mel Woman McGinty story.
Well, she's hilarious in that movie, Celebrity, the Woody Allen movie.
Yeah.
Where she plays like she's some kind of sex therapist that she's showing, some woman in the movie like how to give fellatio, and she tries to show her how to like take a banana deep into her throat, and then she's like, supposed to be this professional, and she puts the banana deep in her throat. She just starts choking on it all crazy. It's a really good bit.
Back in the show, we go back to Exley, something about the internal audit. I don't remember this scene very much. The audit continues, but I think even more exciting is we go back into the Bud White story where this hostage situation is happening.
This might be where Dudley Smith tells him about like how there's going to be a famous person that needs help.
Oh, setting that
and he's
up.
going to get like all the credit for it because Exley likes credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we go to the big Bud White thing where there's like a standoff in a house with a gunman who has a woman hostage in a house, maybe more than one person. Did the gunman look like C. Thomas Howell to you?
Oh, indeed he did. But I could not find him among the cast. I can't imagine it was him, but
I don't think it was him, but it really reminded me of C. Thomas Howell.
It really looked like C. Thomas Howell circa 1999, 2000 after watching Hitman's Run.
Yeah, it really looked like Hitman's Run. C. Thomas Howell was just this guy.
So during this hostage situation, we have basically a repeat of Bud White in the crawl space beneath the house. Plot keyword: man in the crawl space, just like in the movie, where he goes under and attacks the guys by surprise. So he gets inside and blows a couple guys away. And during this scene, he starts to have a flashback of being abused as a kid.
Yeah, or maybe his dad beating his mom and him watching as he's beating.
Oh, yeah,
guy.
witnessing
he's beating
as a kid.
He's beating C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah. So he saves the day, and then he gets brought in to talk to the chief.
Yeah, this is how he comes into contact with Dudley Smith in the show.
Yeah, Smith talks to him about his experience with lady beaters.
And I did not recognize the actor playing Dudley Smith.
No, me neither. And I didn't feel like the actor had a very era-appropriate haircut either.
No.
They definitely dropped the ball on
people's hair. I thought of that too. Yeah, I was watching. I didn't make a note of that, but you're totally right. They definitely dropped the ball on hair.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for the pilot, people were like, this ain't getting picked up. I'm not cutting my hair.
They're just going to reshoot it anyways. So the chief puts Bud White on a kind of personal task force.
Yeah.
That's how I understood it.
The surveillance team, which happens in the movie and in the book.
Mm-hmm. Then we see Vincennes is in a bar talking to a lady about scoring.
It's the Frolic Room, which is in Hollywood, and still has that same sign outside today. And it must have always had that sign because you see it in so many period LA movies. People go to the Frolic Room.
It seems like maybe they go there in the movie Swingers.
Maybe. They definitely go there in the movie Black Dahlia, also based on James Ellroy book. And inside, Jack Vincennes is drinking the champagne of beers.
I think I'm thinking of the Dresden Room and Swingers, but Swingers
they go to the Dresden Room and Swingers for sure.
Yeah.
The Dresden.
Sorry, you're talking about the champagne of beers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kiefer's
drinking that.
Yeah, and talking to this gal.
Renata.
Yeah. Vincennes is trying to score a substantial amount of rows. heroin.
Yes. Did you recognize this lady?
I did.
What do you know her from?
I have no idea.
I didn't either. I totally recognized her and didn't know what I knew her from. She's viewers or listeners that if you listen to this, a lot of people are going to know who she is because she is the wife of Walter White, Skylar White on Breaking Bad.
Oh, she's very young here.
Yeah, so she ended up having a big role, but I've never been a Breaking Bad watcher, but I've probably seen her in commercials for Breaking Bad. I think I've seen one episode of it. She was probably in it.
Skylar White. Very hated character.
You're right. Yeah, she's kind of legendary.
So she gets scared off when Vincent mentions like the amount of this heroin that he wants. And so she takes off, but he follows her and she's fixing up in this room and he busts in and
This is when he reveals he's a cop.
he shows the badge. And she's also an aspiring actress. She's trying to get started in Hollywood. And so he sees that she's been invited to this luau, which has been mentioned before. We forgot to mention this, that they're
Pierce Patchett's
the
luau.
Swish. Yeah, I think this in the Swish scene or somewhere in there. Yes, there is a luau that's being hosted by Pierce Patchett, who is played by Eric Roberts.
But at this point, did you feel like we might get like totally to the end of this and never meet the Eric Roberts character?
Well, I knew
started
that
to
we would
worry.
see him eventually.
Okay, I got really worried that we never would.
That he'd be cut out, even though he was in the credits.
Yes.
My friend's diabetic.
Yeah, right. Come on, I've skin popped a couple of times.
Yeah, sure, babe. Just lock the door.
Oh. I didn't see that.
So you're from where?
Bisbee, Arizona. A small town near the Mexican border. Not much of a place.
Bisbee. I love it. It sounds like buzzing bees. Bisbee.
And naturally, you want to act.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. I did some theater in Tucson, but I haven't been able to see an agent here. If you don't know people.
Well, now you do know people.
I knew you'd love her.
I feel like the Renata, her character name, that might be the girl that gets killed in the movie LA Confidential that you see with the nose job with Pierce Patchett. But I'm not sure. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I can't remember that character's name.
This may be where we get more commercials, or is there more before commercials?
I don't remember. There's commercials a few times. I started to fast forward them after a while, but
Oh, this one we had a thing where in this commercial break, Trio ran a poll on who should have their own sitcom, and the top choice was Adam Sandler, and the second choice was Rosie O'Donnell, which was why I thought she was probably when she had that show, the talk show. But then the one of the choices people voted for was Steve the Dell guy.
you remember him? Dude, you're getting Adele?
Dude, you're getting Adele.
Yeah, I wonder how he's doing these days.
I don't know. Then there was a commercial for a pillow that you put between your legs.
I saw that one.
And it had quite a comely lass in it. And I'd like to put something between that girl's legs. I'd also like to see
I had one of those pillows.
How was it?
I don't remember.
But
I always like to sleep with something between my
like
legs.
A Dream commercial.
Yeah, you like to do something with your flat hose.
Yeah.
Well, back on the pilot.
This is where they play that Rosemary Clooney, "Come to my house, we're gonna have some candy" song.
Yeah.
That's a good song.
It is. I know it from the Chipmunk Adventure.
Oh, weird. I
There's
don't
a
know if I
scene-
ever saw that.
Yeah. Oh, I loved that movie when I was a kid. But yeah,
Was it the one about Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is a good movie.
Well, there's
I
like
liked it when I was a kid.
a female sort of caretaker like Dave Seville, who is the Chipettes caretaker.
Sure.
And I can't remember her name, but she's like a funny kind of old lady from the glamorous era. And there's a scene where she's like cooking breakfast and she's singing that song all funny.
I heard that song on the radio recently, and I don't know that I ever had noticed the song before. It was before we started doing this episode. It was when we were working on the Facade episode. I heard that song on the radio, and I was like, oh, I kind of like this song.
Whoa, it's a good synchronicity.
Yeah.
So we see Sid and his hush hush partner outside of a house that Exley goes into.
And they know
this is
he's
where
IA because of the earlier thing.
Yeah. So they've been following him around, and so he goes inside, and who does he talk to?
He talks to a studio fix-it man who has a funny name. I can't remember what it is, but I thought that much like that other guy reminded me of Scotty Bowers, the studio fix-it man's probably like Eddie Mannix.
Uh-huh. Yes, I immediately thought of Hell Caesar.
Yeah, or Hollywood Land too, where Bob Hoskins played Eddie Mannix.
Never saw it. How is that?
It's not great, but it's watchable.
Yeah. What year is that from?
2009 or something, I forget.
Damn. When did Hoskins? I thought
2007.
Hoskins died before that.
Maybe you did. I'm wrong. Very possible. I don't know. Sometime in there when Ben Affleck and Adrian Brody and Bob Hoskins.
Roy, how about the movie where Joe Pesci plays a paparazzi guy?
Oh yeah, by Carl Franklin, right? The Public Eye. Is that Carl Franklin? Yeah.
I never saw that, but I remember as a kid really liking the poster for it.
Barbara Hershey. Another
Delicious.
hot lady who was in Shy People with Pruitt Taylor Vince, who plays Sid Hutchins.
Connections. So
And
this
Don
fixer,
Swayze.
this manic style fixer guy, you said he's worried about a sex film.
Yes. And he's with an actress who is Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And
so
she says it's not her in the film.
right.
Which, what did this make you think?
That it was her?
I thought it was probably well, after this scene when the guy goes outside when Exley and the fix it guy are outside, Exley asks him if he really thinks it's her in the film. The guy's like, I don't know. When
Yeah.
he says she had to do some things. So what it made me think is that it's probably not her. It's probably they were setting up the hookers who look like stars.
I mean, that's totally what I thought.
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of thought that I had missed a plot point earlier in the pilot that kind of already explained that, but I
don't
was
think you did. I don't think
confusing
it's
it
ever
with
brought
the
up in
film.
this.
Yeah, a big part of the movie and probably the book are ladies that are made up to look like famous actresses.
Yeah. What's funny is that it's not as much in the book as it is in the movie, but it is in the book.
Yeah. And Lynn Bracken is supposed to look like Veronica Lake.
Yeah, which is never brought up in this.
No. Exley's he's gonna continue to investigate this, but
Yeah.
that gets set aside. And so the next thing that we see
And what it has to do with internal affairs gets set aside, like, right? Because he's in internal affairs and he gets the case. And Sid Hutchins, when he goes in, says Exley's with internal affairs, so it has to have something to do with cops. But I don't think we ever find out what it has to do with cops at all.
Yeah. Well, the lady that played in Walter White's wife,
Yeah.
you know that show Walter White's Wife?
Yes.
Okay. She wasn't
Very
an aspiring
popular.
actress. I was confusing her with this other lady who kind of looks like her that Vincennes busts in on in this
Yeah.
next scene.
And when this scene was crazy because
It was a whoring aspiring actress.
Yeah, who actually maybe is an actress more than the other lady, more than Lynn Bracken at this point,
Yeah.
and the other lady, and Sid Hutchins sends this guy the guy he owes money to and tries to borrow money to tells him that busting this lady and this dude is going to be worth like $200 and to go do it. I forget exactly why it's worth. Maybe he's supposed to sell it to Hush Hush, and he doesn't want to do it, but then he decides to go do it for the money. Yeah. But before that, it's like we see her like she's going to ride the guy in bed and she pulls off her top. I guess she's supposed to be braless or something because there's a funny shot of a chair blocking her like back. And it just looked very TV funny. But then there's a song playing in there on a record, and when Jack Vincennes busts in, there's a crazy needle scratch and the song cuts out, and I was like, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's just like
Yeah, do you think the crazy lovemaking would disrupt the record player?
More than a guy just opening a door.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
So this is where the luau stuff gets brought up and the Pierce Patchett thing gets brought up, where this is the woman who's been invited to the luau.
Yes. And Vincennes says he won't turn her in if he's her date to the party. And then he goes out and scores $200 off the John, who can't get his car started because
he's removed a
spark plug. Yeah, and like he shakes that guy down for $200 to not bust him.
He gets the $200 from the guy, gives him the part, and makes the guy have to put the part back in. And the guy gets out of his car and just like a wife beater and boxer shorts.
It's gonna be tough to explain.
Shamefully is trying to fix his car as Vincennes walks away. So there's more leaving money for the widow. There was a scene where the widow's house was
yeah. We missed that. The widow's house was going up for sale because they're 6 payments behind. They owe $200, and you
This
can
is
get
where
that
the
house for
200
like
becomes
$6
such a
grand or something.
$200.
Yeah.
It's a thing that gets repeated 3 or 4 times.
So they
I
find
do.
the money in the mailbox. They're super excited to find this like free money, but they don't look around at all. And there's just Jack Vincennes sitting out in a car staring at them hardcore.
The next thing we see is the luau.
The next thing we see is a great commercial for perfect internet access from Megatron data systems that had the cat in it a bunch and another sexy lady. And it made me miss when ads didn't feature body positive modern women, just all had models in them.
Yeah, or people with that vitiligo, like skin bleaching spots all over them. That seems to be like a thing people are obsessed with.
Whoa.
Putting those types of people in ads.
Whoa.
Big
I didn't know
whoa.
about that. But this is also, before we go to luau, we also have the thing where we meet Preston Exley, who is not named, but that's Ed Exley's dad.
Oh yeah,
And
more of this
he and
boring.
this is kind of crazy because he and his fiance are at dinner there, and the dad explains that
Crazy
he got him the
boring.
Marilyn Monroe case. He put in a word to Chief Parker, and then when the fiance thanks the dad like feels her up kind of. And you feel like that was going to be something that would develop, was that the dad was going to bone his Ed Exley's fiance.
Yeah, I forgot about this.
But a crazy thing in the book is that in the book, the Night Owl murders that are a big part of the movie don't come up in this yet. Like they're committed by these, or the suspects, they couldn't have been there because they were busy like gang raping this Mexican lady named Inez Soto. And then Ed Exley and Inez Soto start dating. And then she starts cheating on him with Bud White. But then he gets her a job working at Disneyland and working like as a public relations person for Ray Dieterling, the Disneyland guy, or the Walt Disney guy. And the Walt Disney guy and Ed Exley's dad are buddies. And she becomes really buddy with Ed Exley's dad and the Walt Disney guy, and kind of like she and Ed Exley break up, and she becomes pretty much like, I forget, either Ray Dieterling or Preston Exley's like right-hand lady. I don't know if it's ever really implied that they're getting it on, but she definitely kind of like leaves him for his dad in a maybe more innocent way.
Damn,
and then when all this shit comes out at the end, the Disney guy and her commit suicide together. And so does Ed Exley's dad. They all commit suicide together.
Just like Walt Disney did.
Yes.
When the Russians started to close in on, was it Berlin? I don't remember.
They found out that he had his son murdered to protect his illegitimate son, who was a child murderer.
You know what Walt Disney's last words were?
No.
Kurt Russell. That's true.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Which it's funny, but you know, Russell had been in Disney movies.
Sure, it makes sense, but I had no idea.
On all kinds of morphine and stuff, but still, it's a pretty
Russell.
funny. Well, let's get into the luau because I want to get to Eric, man.
Oh yeah, this is where we go to the luau.
Yeah. So Vincennes and this lady show up.
They're playing what song?
Papa loves mambo. Mama loves mambo.
They must have already been gone through a bunch of the luau music.
Looking so gay when they say ole. She has headshots and stuff. She has photographs. Like she hasn't met Patchett before. So they're both trying to get to him and up their profile. Well, she's trying to up her profile, and Vincennes is trying to get to the bottom of this Rose heroin. So she talks to him first, and we meet Eric Roberts as Pierce Patchett.
Yes.
And what does he say?
I forget.
He says she's trying to schmooze with him, and he says something like, "Are you one of Harold's ladies?" And I think like he has somebody go and check on her. I don't remember. She gets separated from him, and then Kiefer goes up to him and introduces himself, and Eric Roberts just shakes his hand and looks at him and pats him on the back and keeps walking.
Yeah, it totally blows him off.
Yeah, so they both get blown off by Pierce Patchett, played by Eric Roberts. We also see that Bud is at the luau.
Yes, working security for extra money.
Yeah, he's doing a side gig here as a bouncer for Patchett, and he runs into Lynn Bracken.
Yeah, who was coming to the party.
I believe for the Caesar for the first time. I don't remember if he saw her outside of that.
He might have seen her outside. I can't remember.
Yeah, but it's like he's fascinated by her as soon as he sees her, but he gets cock blocked by the groomer guy, right?
Yeah.
The Swish pimp.
Scotty Bowers.
Who introduces Lynn to Eric Roberts. Pierce Patchett.
Yeah, and one thing not present here, I thought Eric Roberts was pretty fun in this. It was kind of a good choice to play Pierce Patchett. But in the book, it's described that Pierce Patchett is a secret heroin sniffer.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can tell when you look at him that he's like kind of aged out mildly. And they never bring this up in the movie at all. But if you watch the movie knowing that, I swear you can tell David Strathairn is playing it like that.
Yeah.
There's a weird thing to his eyes and demeanor.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an opiated vibe to him.
Yeah, that's a big part of the character in the book. But
Good
who
call.
knows if they were going to get into that in the show or just left it out totally or what.
Yeah.
But another thing about the character Pierce Patchett is that he's supposed to be 55, but
Well,
he
how
looks
old is Roberts here?
definitely not 55. But the thing is, he's not supposed to look 55. He's supposed to look 37.
Yeah.
That's probably about right for Eric Roberts or David Strathairn then.
Yeah,
'Cause there's that
Roberts is
thing
being
where-
his mid-40s here.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe. Yeah.
He was born in 56.
Oh yeah, you're right. He would be about 44. Yeah, but looks more like 37. Eric Roberts.
Yeah, see, I
handsome man.
just didn't get much from his performance in this.
No, he just is like a rich guy.
Kind of low effort Roberts. But
I
he didn't
like
have a lot to do.
something coming up here that he does. I liked. He definitely didn't suck at all. He didn't do anything wrong.
Sid is also at the luau.
Yeah.
So Vincennes runs into Sid and they talk about, I think this is where Sid reveals that he has the dirt on. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. He reveals that he knows about the employee.
Thorvald.
He knows about Thorvald being shot and
that
being set up.
Vincennes needs money.
Yes. And so he blackmails him into working for Hush Hush. Or
He
working.
brings up a lot of weird stuff like that. Some chick is like a sapphic sister. So he brings up Sappho as
Famous
like
lesbian.
a lesbian. Yeah. And then he brings up Marcel Proust as like, which I didn't quite get that. As like precedent for what he does. He brought up Marcel Proust. And that's when he's like, yeah, he's a queer. And he's like, he's like booked by a queer. And he's like, no, it's about a queer. It's like about a queer by a queer.
So yeah, you learn that Vincennes is
Or maybe he says it's about a queer. Then Hutchins is like, no, it's by a queer.
yeah, it's a book about a straight man written by a queer. And he's like, no, it's about a queer.
And then he brings up Joseph Conrad's Lord Jim.
Have you read that, Lord Jim?
I've read Sappho, Proust, and Lord Jim.
You're a well-read man, Roy.
Yeah, all these references. I was like, oh, I've read all these.
Sappho was your favorite. I remember you telling me.
Yeah. Sappho, early love poetry,
Yeah.
written by a woman about women, apparently.
So Conrad, he was not a gay man as far as we know.
No, I don't think so. Because I wouldn't have known Proust was gay except for what's his face. Harold Bloom talked about it in that Western canon. He said that Proust was bisexual, mostly gay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Vincennes is a well-read man.
Yeah, I guess so. As is Hutchins, is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Bud finally gets to talk to Lynn Bracken.
They have chemistry, or they have sparks between them.
Yeah, she likes him. And then she tells him to come find her later when the fireworks are going off, because this is a 4th of July luau.
I forgot that.
Yeah. So the movie the first of the movie takes place around Christmas, and then the pilot takes place around the 4th of July. Pretty cool.
True.
Two different holidays. Kind of cool. Neat. Vincennes, the lady that he comes with, his date, she kind of takes off and ends up in this side room with some heroin guys.
Yeah.
And we find out
she
that
wants some heroin.
She likes it as well.
She's skin popped before.
Yeah, this is why I kind of got her mixed up with the whole
Me too.
the lady.
Because she liked heroin. Yeah, it was very confusing. And then she looked
Skylar
behind
White.
this door. She looks to the side of this room, and there's just this scary albino blonde guy.
I love that guy.
And you never see him again. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know you were there." I was like, "I wonder who that guy's going to end up being on the show."
Yeah, John
never know.
Sinister over there in the corner.
Yeah. We'll never know. And he was like older than the other guys in the room.
So then what else happens? She ends up just taking off with them. And Vincennes like watches her just in this car as it's like taking off, and he finds a
First,
syringe.
doesn't she like start partying too hard and talking about her bazooms at the party and stuff? But then she takes off with them after that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Then he just finds a used heroin syringe in the parking lot. Yeah.
Well, it's not used as far as I remember seeing it.
Oh,
and being
you're
like,
right.
who
It
would
hasn't been
drop-
depressed. You can
who would
see the
drop
heroin
a
in
full
it.
syringe of expensive heroin.
Yeah,
like
and
that,
it's
just-
colored.
So,
Heroin.
anyways,
It's like-
Vincennes takes it back into the party and tries to bust Patchett with it. People are doing heroin at your luau, but he doesn't really.
You got some pretty weird party favors, Patch.
Is that what he said?
Pierce, yeah,
Patch.
Pierce Patchett or whatever you call it.
But I guess Patchett is more powerful than Vincennes because he calls security and Bud comes over and is just kind of like, hey, there's nothing I can do. You got to go, man.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah, I put a bunch of question marks on this note here. Like, that didn't feel right at all.
No, it didn't. But this
And
is where,
even
yeah,
Bud
like,
White is kind of shruggy, just sort of like, dude, it's just the rules.
Yeah, don't mess up my gig.
Don't
be a
mess
bad
up.
dude. and mess
Yeah, I
up
guess
me
that's
getting
kind of the
paid.
vibe because
Yeah.
Vincennes just leaves without causing
Yeah,
trouble.
But first, like, we have my favorite part of Roberts in this episode is when Vincennes is going to leave and he says, one day, Patchett, it'll be just you and me or something like that. And then Patchett, Eric Roberts, like holds up this one finger and like mouths one day and walks off all dismissively. And I thought that was pretty cool the way he did. Good finger work by Eric Roberts there.
Was it the crazy finger that got? I think that maybe that's his middle.
Oh, I was thinking it did look crazy, but it probably isn't the crazy finger.
I don't remember which digit it is.
It's his
all
index
bent.
finger.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
his
is.
left hand.
It's twisted ass gnarly finger. Is Eric Roberts right or left-handed?
Not sure.
Do we know this information?
Might need to look it up.
As we're wasting like very valuable Zoom minutes, I'm looking up what his hand orientation is.
We're pretty much to the end of the episode. Yeah, these Zoom minutes are now like gold.
Well, it says here the first thing that comes up: celebrities you didn't know were left-handed. Julia Roberts, Tom Cruise, Bruce Willis, Keanu Reeves. I don't see Eric on here. I'm not going to explore that any further. But if it is, if he favors his left hand and it's his left hand index finger that's gnarly, then probably is in that scene. So the fireworks start going off by the pool outside at this big party. And
they play the Joe Stafford You Belong to Me song, which I really like.
That's a pretty song.
And it was used wonderfully in The Irishman, where he was hanging out with the mobsters and
yeah,
they're playing in the background and you're like, oh, he belongs to them, which becomes the big theme of the movie.
Yeah. Lynn is down below with this guy and they're canoodling, and up above on a balcony, Bud is watching.
Yeah, she's with Pierce Patchett.
Oh, I thought it was another guy.
It's Pierce that she's canoodling with, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
I
with
missed that.
Pierce.
It looked different to me. He didn't look like Eric Roberts to me.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, she looks up at him and they make eye contact, and there's this weird intrigue between them. And so then we cut to the next morning.
Yeah.
I guess, Bud's been there all night because the sun's rising. He's outside kind of in that drive where Vincennes was earlier, where he found the syringe. And he finds all of these portfolio pictures on the driveway that are ripped up and shit. And it's the lady that was Kiefer's date.
Yeah, he finds all these
character's
ripped
name
up.
is Pat.
No, I thought it's not Kiefer's date. It's the Renata lady that we saw earlier.
Skylar White?
Yeah, I think it's her.
I thought it was the gal that went off with the heroin people.
Man, maybe you're right. I don't think
she brought all those.
Man, you might be right. I'm confused.
Do you remember seeing Skylar White, that actress in the credits of IMDb?
I don't know.
Yeah, damn. I had my LA Confidential IMDb.
I have it open. Like, Skylar White, what do we want to know about it?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, I know what you mean. Say I have Melissa George's credits up.
Is her character's name Pat? Who plays Pat? That's what we want to know.
No one is named Pat. It says Shannon Collis plays Girl. Anna Gunn plays Renata.
In the TV pilot?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the one from Breaking Bad who's Skylar White. And yeah, there's no one listed as. Let's look at Shannon Collins to see if it's this lady. There's someone named Shannon Collins. Looks. I don't know who this girl. That might be his fiance. No, I don't know who this lady was in it.
The top review.
She might have been a little girl in it.
Top review of this pilot reads absolutely dreadful. That's the title of it.
But these shots he finds at the end are crazy because like we never know what he's like seeing in the shots, because all the shots we see him look really tame, but then we see him like reacting to them really angrily, and we see actual footage of like whichever lady it is like crying and asking for a picture not to be taken, and then like tied up and gagged having her picture taken. And so I guess we're supposed to imagine those are in the pictures he's looking at, but it's like all we see is him imagining it. But in the pictures we see, she looks happy and normal.
Yeah, it's intercut with this madness.
Yeah, it's just very strange and makes no sense, and ends with like one of the pictures melting like a brain wrap of a film.
You know, we see her out in the desert being terrorized by who I assumed were the heroin boys.
Like, oh, maybe so.
She's being photographed against her will.
Yeah, but in the pictures you actually see, she looks happy.
But it's not the same pictures.
But we don't
it's
see
the head,
pictures of
it's
of
the
her when
photographs
she's
that
not
she
happy.
brought to the party earlier, the luau, because she's
Oh.
trying to sell herself.
Oh, so they threw away those pictures and then they took her out to the
Yes.
desert and bothered her.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't put that together. See, what
I-
I think confused me is in the novel, a big part of the story that's not in the movie is that Jack Vincennes, when he's in Vice, he finds this pornography that's like really dark and crazy pornography, very crazy. And he becomes obsessed with tracking that down and obsessed with it over a period of years. And it leads back to like, that's kind of how we get into the fleur-de-lis stuff and the Pierce Patchett prostitution ring is through this whole thing with this pornography. And so I thought her being tied up and stuff was in shots that he was seeing that we just couldn't see. They're part of the pornography. You're right. I was
It's
just totally confused.
Yeah, it's a juxtaposition of her
Yeah.
nice headshots with these
Guys
sordid-
terrorizing her in the desert.
Yes, and then it ends with a to be continued.
Yeah, which would never be.
It
And we
would
get no end
To
credits.
never be continued.
No, now we're to like
That should have
20
been
years
the
later.
name of the trio show instead of Brilliant but Canceled. To never be continued.
How
And
did you
that's
feel
it.
about this episode, about the show?
I felt I could have done better. Oh, the show that we watched. I watched the movie and then the show back to back, and so it just doesn't hold a candle. I'm a big fan of LA Confidential.
The movie's excellent.
Yeah, it's just it's a well-made movie. It's not the greatest movie of all time, but it's just a solid movie.
I think it's pretty cool. Like it's pretty different from a lot of movies. Like it kind of reminded me of The Godfather in that it has like these supporting actors, and then stars like unknowns who became big.
Yeah.
Or little knowns, more or less. Like it's like Guy Pearce and Russell Crowe weren't a big deal in America at all.
Yeah, it kind of really broke them,
And
they've
they're
been
both
in other
fantastic
stuff,
in
but-
it. Yeah, it was a really I think it's a pretty excellent movie.
I do
And
too, for sure.
On the Elroy Boys, they were saying that they wish that it had been done or something by someone who wasn't Curtis Hanson. They felt he did a good job, but they thought that David Fincher or someone or Paul Thomas Anderson, they'd like to see him with the material. I was thinking, I
that's
think
kinda what
Curtis
I
Hanson,
thought.
see, I kind of disagree. I think Curtis Hanson's a pretty good artist, and he and Brian Helgeland's, the way they did that script and pared it down, I thought like after reading the book, I was like, they did an unbelievable job making that into a sensible 2.5 hour movie, however long it is. It's probably under 2.5 hours. I don't know, but it's like that book is long and a ton happens, and they had to make a lot of choices. And then I thought I think the movie looks good. And I think one of the Elroy Boy guys said that was his introduction to James Elroy. I was like, well, if you think it could be done so much better, look at how obsessed you've gotten with the material based on having seen it.
Yeah. It's an entry point. I don't know what it is. Like it just everything is the way it's shot and everything, the Spinati again, everything is handsome. It's a handsome movie.
It really is.
It's a handsome plot.
Yeah,
I remember
it's like got 3 leads, which is rare for a movie.
Yeah, and I remember back in film school days, I was in a screenwriting class, and I think the assignment was I could choose a movie that I felt related to the script that I was writing. And at the time, I was writing a script with 3 male leads. So I said, well, let me do like a plot breakdown of LA Confidential. And I
vaguely remember this.
Watching it 2 or 3 times and kind of falling in love with it then. I'd seen it with you when we were teenagers, I think.
I was trying to remember who I saw it with.
I don't think we saw it in the theater together, but I feel like you had it on DVD and it was around and on.
I did.
I remember cracking jokes about James Cromwell having the body of a snake. Remember this?
Or maybe imbibing marijuana or something.
Yeah, and I think that we were
Or
joking that
beer.
you never see him from the waist down in the entire movie, and so there's always this hilarious idea that if the
He
camera
might
ever
just be a
panned down,
snake.
yeah, it would just be like a python with
That's
James
pretty
Cromwell.
funny. E.T.
But anyways, yeah, the plot was something that I just puzzled over and was obsessed with, and I've always kind of struggled with plots, and this is a pretty masterfully told story with like an intricate plot.
A movie Curtis Hanson didn't direct, but he wrote the script for. If anybody gets a chance to see it, they put it on Criterion once in a while, but it's probably streaming on something. Who knows? There's a movie called The Silent Partner starring Elliot Gould and Christopher Plummer. That's a crime movie set in a Canadian mall. It has like a John Candy's in it and a straight movie. That's a really good crime movie too. More of a Jackie Brown style movie.
Did you say by Curtis Hanson?
He wrote the script for it. I think it might
Yeah.
be based on a novel too.
You know, Hanson was he got his start as a guy who, as a director, as a guy who made neo noirs.
Yes.
And I tried to watch The Bedroom Window. I don't know if you've seen this.
That's the one with Steve Gutenberg, right?
Yep, from
Yeah,
'87.
that's pretty cool too in its own way. It's not. It's flawed.
Elizabeth McGovern, who I always
Yeah,
had a
but
big
it's kinda
crush on.
good.
Isabelle Huppert.
Yeah, he's always naked.
She loves to be naked. So yeah, I would like to see some of these. I remember there was a Tarantino interview somewhere that I listened to or watched recently, and he mentioned Curtis Hanson was like a maker of really great little neo noirs in the '80s that people don't talk about much anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
The early Hansons. Of course, Curtis Hanson died in 2016.
Yeah, so we don't get any more Curtis Hanson movies.
No, and for some reason, I think just because the movie features two, maybe more than two, but two leads are Aussies. I had it in my head that Curtis Hanson was an Aussie, but he is not. He is an American, was an American. So yeah, he made this movie Sweet Kill in 1972. You familiar with that?
No.
It's a Roger Corman production. So he came from the Corman school. Then you have The Little Dragons, which is kind of a Karate Kid style movie, it looks like, from
No
1980.
idea.
Never seen it, never heard of it. Losing It, which I have heard of.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, the
Tom Cruise movie.
Tom Cruise, Jackie Earl Haley
Haley.
movie, which came out the same year as Risky Business. Kind of the same plot, similar plot. Guys trying to get laid. Then Bedroom Window, Bad Influence, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, which
I've seen Bad Influence.
I kind of have this. I've been wanting to watch The Hand That Rocks the Cradle
I've never seen it.
and never wanting to see In Her Shoes.
Yeah, same.
I may have seen it now that I think about it.
But he also probably has a more extensive career too as a writer.
Yeah. Wonder Boys, which we were both a big fan of at the time.
Yeah, which I haven't seen in forever, which I'd like to watch again. Because that's one that I remember really liking and then deciding I didn't like it that much. But I thought what's his face? Michael Douglas was great in it.
Yeah, it was just such a
I
chill
watched
movie.
it again.
It was one that I just put on a lot because it was just such an easy watch. I enjoyed just having it on. I had it on DVD. So
It had
I
good
watched Wonder
music
Boys.
too. It's another one shot by Spinati that looks really good.
Yeah, all true.
Really pretty movie. You know what movie he wrote? One of the greatest films of all time.
What's that?
White Dog.
Yeah, directed by
Sam Fuller.
Sam Fuller.
About the racist dog that kills black people. He also wrote something called Children of Times Square, a TV movie, which he directed too. What is this? An alienated teenage boy runs away from home, adventures to New York City, where he falls in with a gang of juvenile delinquents working as drug dealers and pickpockets for a shady crime boss. Sounds pretty good.
Sounds like LA Confidential.
Yeah, it does.
I'm really kind of obsessed with trying to identify people in this pilot. It
Whoa,
bothers me that we don't
whoa.
have a full credit. Go ahead.
So there's a character in the movie Children of Times Square named Eric Roberts.
Whoa, but not the actor himself.
No, I think it's one of the kids.
Well, how would you rate this pilot? Did you?
I didn't think it was very good, but I've seen the movie. Like I made sure to watch the pilot before I watched the movie again, so that I wouldn't be too tainted. It just never really gathers much dramatic momentum. It all feels a little bit TV sanitized.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
No, it didn't really work for me either. I'm feeling like the actress we're thinking of is Shannon Collis, who is only credited as Girl.
I was thinking that, but how old is she?
Well, Yeah, this doesn't make any sense. No, it wouldn't be her then.
She
I don't
looks
think
too
we
young.
have a credit. It says she was born in 86, so that doesn't work.
Yeah, she wouldn't even have been 20. Yeah.
It's a mystery we'll have to save for the
It's a
next
true
episode when we
mystery.
discuss this great pilot again, because it's a two-parter.
What movie do you want to do next time? It's your turn to choose.
Well, I'm struggling with that. I have never seen Raggedy Man.
Me neither. And it's on Criterion Collection right now.
I know-
Criterion Channel, you told me this.
Yeah, I know that it's available. There's a movie from 2004 that I'm not sure if it's available called Border Blues, which also stars Gary Busey.
Whoa.
And there is a movie that I know you have seen, and I've probably watched parts of it with you, called La Cucaracha,
Oh yeah.
starring Eric Roberts. I feel
That's
like
a more
whatever we
popular movie.
do next needs to really star Roberts to make up for him not being in this episode that much.
True. This was
as
a
an actor.
true barely in it.
Yeah, this goes in the barely in it folder. Also, I would like to discuss at some point the multiple music videos that Eric Roberts has been in.
Somebody brought this up to me that he's in like a Killers video.
Yeah, that's probably his most famous one, but he's been in like few. If you go to his page here, he was in a Ja Rule video in 2002 called Down Ass Chick. Mr. Brightside by the Killers. He was in 2 Mariah Carey music videos.
Whoa.
He was actually in 2 Killers videos
Whoa.
because there's a song called Miss Atomic Bomb that he was also in. He was in a Rihanna music video, a Chris Cornell music video,
Wow.
Enrique Iglesias featuring Bad Bunny. The song is called El Baño, and in the Eric Roberts plays the role of Time Lord / the bartender.
Time Lord is in the news now because that's the nickname of
Hunter Biden.
basketball player Robert Williams of the Boston Celtics, who are in the NBA playoffs at present.
Roy, how about athlete Ted Williams? You know anything about him?
He batted 400 in a season once.
His
Last
head-
man to do it.
His head is in a jar, Futurama style.
Oh yeah, you're right. He wanted to be cryogenically frozen. I remember that was a big fight. His family didn't want him to be or something. Yeah, it was
that's
a
how
big
I
thing.
understand it. Anyways, one of these days, we know we could probably easily find all of these music videos. So it would be fun to do a music video episode. But we will discuss this off the air, and then it'll come as a surprise to our devoted listeners what the next one's going to be about. And who knows, maybe we'll find out whether or not Roberts is left or right-handed.
Well, speaking of hands, I've been watching the show. I just finished it last night, the first season of Tokyo Vice.
Yeah.
And it teaches me that a man takes responsibility. And I did something bad that I need to apologize for and take responsibility for, which is that I told everybody that listens to the show to put all their money on Denzel Washington winning Best Actor for Macbeth.
That's right.
And I told them long before the Oscars, and he did end up getting nominated for Best Actor. But last episode was our first one since the Oscars, and we forgot to mention that he lost to William Smith. And so now I'm going to take responsibility for costing all of our listeners all that money. And if you'll bear with me, I have a piece of ribbon here and a very sharp knife, and I'm going to tie my finger off and
I'm watching this on the Zoom feed right now. It's horrific.
oh god, damn it, I'm gonna pass out.
Which finger was it?
Idea. What finger?
Right or left hand?
My right hand.
But you're a left-handed man, right?
God, just call it ambulance.
Okay. Hey, before I call an ambulance, I do have the answer to the question of whether or not Eric Roberts is right or left-handed.
Oh yeah, which one is he?
To be continued.